This is episode 254 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Tommy Visaggio. Tommy is the founder and managing member of Viza Property Management. I know these numbers, that's going to be more, but as a principal, he's orchestrated more than 23 property transactions, securing 76 or more residential units across New Jersey, but he's seen over 1,000 multifamily units from concept to reality in his prior career. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jonathan. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're young. How did you get into real estate? You've been doing this for a while, but you are not an old person like me.
Yeah, I was going to Montclair State University. I had a finance major, and a major real estate development company in New Jersey was looking for an intern in their finance department. So I had no interest in real estate at the time. I just liked numbers. I liked investing. So
yeah.
I jumped into that. It was an unpaid internship, probably 40 minutes from my house. So, parents weren't too thrilled about it. They didn't think it was a great idea, not even getting reimbursed for my mileage. I had a Ram 1500 at the time too. So it was quite expensive. There. But I was immediately exposed to all different parts of the business from a larger scale, right? This company does 200 unit redevelopment projects in transit oriented neighborhoods, mostly throughout central to northern New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I had a great opportunity to get exposed to the commercial side of it very early on. And one of my bosses there did a lot of investing on a smaller scale on the side. And that was how I jumped into it. I actually did my first deal with him in 2018, and it was pretty much off to the races from there. So that's how I initially got involved.
Have you found that the price point also makes it your X multiple is great in South Jersey, but the price point to get in allows you to accumulate more units and get better options and really provide affordable housing in an area where there is a lot of more affordable housing than there is in North Jersey, even Central Jersey.
Totally. And I do like some of the long-term potential of South Jersey, because a lot of people maybe who have more disposable income, all right, maybe when they're getting close to retiring, or they think things are too expensive. A lot of people go down the shore by Tom's River. There's not a ton of employment down there, or they go down to Florida if they have a lot of disposable income. But people who want to stay in New Jersey but pay far less, a lot of them are going either out west, which is, there's a few towns out there, but it's more rural and there's not a lot happening. But I think that being next to Philadelphia, major metropolitan area, you have Trenton, you have a new the Glassboro Camden line, which is supposed to come in the very near future. I'm hoping it does. Be amazing. All those people living in Gloucester City and those surrounding municipalities would have access to a lot more places without needing a vehicle. You have, there's a lot of medical expansion down there. I think Cooper's Hospital is one of them, right? So I just like where it's situated, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And also, this was the other thing I was going to mention. Down there, there's municipalities like the council, the building department. Some of them seem to be very pro-business because there's not as many people knocking on their door.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen that in a few towns down there where we've done projects, not just buy multifamily, but also retrofits of old housing stock into new buildings. We were one of the first people in those towns to do it, these small towns, and they really appreciated that. And, from then on out, it was like they were kind of welcoming us with open arms and, helping us get through a lot of the things where other landlords might be getting tied up.
You were talking about these lower rents. What I've found over time is a lot of people who get scared of these kind of lower rent areas, but they don't understand that when you're a good manager and you provide a good project, a good product for people to live in, those people are appreciative. Especially if you're taking the time to choose the right renters, it's not really the rent that changes it. A lot of it's on the landlord. A lot of the time, just providing a good product and being able to kind of communicate with the tenants and know, like, hey, we're in a partnership. Have you found that over time?
Absolutely. And especially on the 1 to 4 family stuff. As of recently, we've been doing more so around 10 unit buildings or so, but with all of our 1 to 4 family inventory, that's where there's a lot of, quote unquote, non-professional investors, people who inherited property or people who live in one of the units and rent out the other. They're not, it's not priority. They're not running it like a business, right?
Yeah.
I want to show these people, what separates me from the competition and that I value them, right? Because I'm competing for them amongst a good pool of inventory now. So from the very start, we look to do, the 3D walkthroughs, even on an apartment that's going to rent for $1,400 a month. I
Yeah.
feel that in addition to making us, putting us up in search engine optimization on Zillow and stuff like that, it just shows that, okay, this guy goes about his business in this way, just in marketing the property. I would think maybe he's going to do a better job in taking care of me once I'm in that property than someone who does little to no turnover, presents it very poorly, and like,
Yeah, I mean, you're the bridge between the owner and the tenant, and if the owner is not gonna be good at it, like, I'm not a good landlord, I know that. I need a buffer,
Mhm.
because I just don't enjoy it, but for you to get in the middle, you have to be good, but I'm sure you found, especially in New Jersey, that it's really tough. It's tough to find good
Mhm.
property management, but part of it is what you said before, there is a lot of rent control, especially in northern New Jersey, so the cash flow sometimes isn't necessarily dependent on bad property management. It's bad buy price versus low rent, restricted rent, and then
Yeah,
high increasing costs.
yeah, totally. I think that's why a lot of our people, a lot of our clients come in, non-rent controlled municipalities because, in those places, those landlords have to squeeze every bit they can just to make a reasonable profit or break even, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not able to afford property manager, even though they might want one. And it does shock me that some of the prices that those properties sell for, especially in cases where the rent hasn't been registered for many, many years. And these landlords, unsuspecting, don't even know that they're liable for their rents to be, go back to what they were when they were last registered, which could be a fraction of what the rent was when they bought it. And one thing we did just recently expand into is HOA management. I
Interesting.
was, yeah, I was surprised at how different it really was, but so far we've been doing it for about 7 months and we really like that side of the business. And that's another thing. HOA, I feel that very volume based because you're making much less money in HOA
Yeah,
than
yeah.
rental, no broker fees, things like that. So there's a lot of unhappy HOAs out there.
All of them,
Yeah.
but all of them suck, by the way,
Yeah.
because I know from selling so many, condos inside HOAs, then you just like, why is it so hard to get the information in the condo questionnaire to find out about litigation? That's a very untapped market. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to hear you say that because the biggest problem in condo transactions always relates to the HOA. Either
Yes.
they fell behind, unwarrantable condos are part because of construction and what happened in Miami. That's fine. But a lot of it's because of bad HOA management, high assessments, and then the products are unsellable and everybody's stuck. That's really interesting. I don't even know anyone who has been into that, but I think that's really smart. How did you fall into that? Did someone recommend it or did something just kind of come to you like, hey, would you be interested?
We just got a lead and it was somebody, cause, property management, they couldn't tell, whether we were more so based on a rental or the HOA, which doesn't speak very well to our website. We should have made that one. But we took it. But one thing I want to say is that for landlords, property management can be seen as a luxury. You don't need one, right? Anybody could self-manage. And if you don't have too many properties, you could probably pull it off. Even if it's not great, you could pull it off. But on the HOAs, you need a property manager,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah.
that there's so many more opportunities, maybe in a place like where I'm based out of Hoboken, right, than other places, that's for sure. But there's just so many of these smaller complexes that don't get the attention they deserve because these guys who have, a good foothold on the market are worried about maintaining their larger relationships in 100, 200 unit buildings.
Yeah, and I think that people forget that HOA is a completely different operation. You could buy an 8 unit, condoize them all, sell all 8 condos, but you still have the HOA. Someone still needs to run the HOA for all the owners. And that's what happens in a lot of the buildings. They're kind of checked out because they're like, oh, well, we used to have these as rentals. Now we sold them all. Look at all this money we have. Oh, wait, now people still want common areas fixed. Oh, shit. What am
Yep.
I going to do now? And that's really the common areas are so important in those condo projects because those are really the things that could become eyesores for all residents where they're like, oh, it's just a curb appeal thing.